Ladies and gentlemen, drivers, gig workers, and everyone in between, welcome to This Week in Rideshare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Hoffa. It is Friday, September 13th, and this week, drivers weigh in on Waymo, Dasher's time at work, and Tesla integrates with Uber. Legal Rideshare breaks it down. And from Legal Rideshare, I'm joined by the co-founder and lead attorney, Bryant Greening. Bryant, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Jared. Great to be back.
Yes, I am actually in Amish country, Pennsylvania right now, hence why it looks a little different. I was only chopping trees down an hour ago, so very different
Well,
from being in Chicago.
you're getting in the mood there. I mean, it sounds like you're doing what people do in Amish country, Pennsylvania.
That's true. It's been quite an event. It's been pretty fun. But yeah, let's get right into it with the first story here. Drivers are weighing in on Waymo. So Uber drivers give their thoughts on Waymo. So the register adds, quote, Tim, a pseudonym as he asks not to be identified, expects Waymo, the leading maker of self-driving taxis, to broadly undercut Uber's human-operated ride-hailing service in the U.S. city at some point in 2025 and feels that this will be the beginning of the end. He says, to put it bluntly, we are cooked, said one person posting to a forum for San Francisco Uber drivers in response to my solicitation for thoughts about Waymo. He goes in to basically say that Waymo is going to use the same playbook that Uber does to beat its competitors and spend venture capital prices, to price out rivals in the market. Brian, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's I certainly understand the way that the drivers are feeling to have this new technology thrust upon them and to see that their jobs are really at risk. We've been seeing from time and time again as technology changes, the idea is to make it one as cost effective as possible, two to make the driver really less and less a priority. Drivers have been squeezed throughout rideshare really from the beginning. It started out as a lucrative business for a lot of people, and then very quickly as more and more venture capital came in, as the companies became more concerned with their bottom line, the drivers kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. And now we're seeing technology that's going to make the driver obsolete. So I get the anxiety. I understand why drivers feel like this is the beginning of the end. And frankly, I think this is the vision that these rideshare companies have had since the beginning. Let's take over the market. Let's get rid of taxis. Let's replace them with Ubers. And now let's replace those Uber drivers with autonomous vehicles. And the big companies, the venture capitalists are going to win. And the little guy seems like eventually they're going to be pushed out.
Yeah, I mean, and there's even other articles I've seen about this that cover, which is pretty interesting. They're even covering that Uber itself may be out Ubered by this. That they're, like you said, they're going to price them out. They're going to squeeze the drivers to the final death knell of not needing drivers. And this is very different because as much as Uber has been aggressive with drivers, they still needed the drivers. And now Waymo is saying, we don't even need you. We will find a way to completely cut you out. I know you've had a huge stance on, even the way that things are being pushed forward with autonomous vehicles. It seems it's not ready and they're just flying through. We say this a lot. I can't see this ending well. I think it's going to end in so many different ways, not just with personal injury, but with employment and gig work, and just it's going to be a snowball. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, I think so. And as you said, Uber's being out Ubered. It doesn't seem like Uber's technology is ready to really deploy these vehicles on the roadway. So other companies like Waymo are coming in and filling that void. So does it look like Waymo's vehicles are ready to be on every city street in our country? No, but they're doing it, and they're not asking for permission. They're just putting the vehicles out there. And eventually, I think we are going to see that this driverless technology is going to be a very common mode of transportation. It's going to be, perhaps preferred by a lot of customers who might feel like, there's more privacy, they don't like the small talk, whatever it is. I think people might veer towards driverless cars, and there's going to be an entire employment sector that is missing out, and people who have given their lives to rideshare and who have changed their career paths to work for companies like Uber. And this has always been the long game when it comes to rideshare, and it seems like we're not at the position yet where everybody's going to lose their jobs, but I could certainly see in the next few years that there's a big hit on the rideshare economy, at least from the driver's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see that changing at all. I see it just getting worse as we discussed. And as always, like we seem to be on the forefront of these stories, and I imagine as Waymo gets in more cities and people start using it, we're going to see more on this. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all develops and what we talk about in 5 years from now, which is different Uber 5 years ago to now. So we'll see. We're going to head off into the second story here. Interesting one that I didn't even know about. Dashers spend less time on the gig than you think. And this is from Business Insider. And they reported, quote, about 7 million people made deliveries for DoorDash last year, but surprisingly, most of them averaged just a few hours a week on the gig. So 72% of DoorDash gig workers devoted less than 4 hours a week to making deliveries. That figure includes just the time that gig workers spent on a delivery. It's including downtime between orders. About 62% of workers spend less than 4 hours a week working for the app. It also goes in to say that 55% of DoorDash workers, who they call Dashers as we know, are between 26 and 44 years old, and 60% identify as women. So, Brian, this is a very interesting statistics. We always, I feel like Dashers and delivery is a little bit different breed than typical rideshare drivers. I know people multi-app as well. But I didn't realize really for them, it is truly gig. It is, we are in, we are out,
Yeah,
which
it
is
is
interesting.
really Yeah, it is really interesting to get some of the statistics about these drivers, to learn more about their demographics, how they're using the app. I am curious as to how DoorDash compares to some of the other gig apps like Uber, Lyft, where I think we're seeing predominantly more, at least in my anecdotal experience, a lot more middle-aged, a lot more men, I think, than women that tend to drive. And DoorDash seems to go the other way, where we're seeing more women, more youth, and very enlightening, true part-time workers. The vast majority of people are spending a couple hours on the app. Seems different to me than rideshare. It seems like people are picking up a couple orders here and there, as it said in the article, to supplement income rather than make a full-time living. I get that last extra couple bucks to pay the mortgage or pay for, the soccer shoes or whatever it is that they need to pay for that month. So, more than anything, it's none of this is shocking. I don't think it's like news that needs to be on the front page of the of the Times, but it's just really enlightening to find out more about the people who are choosing one gig app over another. And we'd be interested to hear from you guys, viewers, as to why you think that is. Why do you think younger people are choosing DoorDash? Why are more women using the app than men? We're just curious as to learn about the community, and this is an interesting first step in that inquiry.
Yeah, and I mean, it even says 44%. 44% of Dashers have full-time jobs, just like you said. So I am curious of people out there who are Dashers. Is there a reason? Is it not having to deal with passengers? I don't know, but I am curious. I knew the number skewed a little bit different, but I was surprised by it. So it's cool. I think it just shows there's a lot of diversity out there as far as the needs of gig work and what people are willing to do, and it's kind of nice to see that there is options, and this is one of them they want. So that's awesome. We're gonna head off into the final story, which is it interests me a lot. The whole thing does. Tesla is now integrating with Uber. So this is from Electric, and they added, quote, Uber has announced that Tesla drivers using its rideshare app can now send trip navigation automatically to their vehicles. On top of the navigation, Uber drivers can make the rideshare app aware of their current battery range in order to send trip requests only within that range. Tesla and Uber have also been working together to share data in order to better deploy charging stations in New York City, where there are a lot of Uber drivers using Tesla vehicles. So this is interesting to me, Brian, because a lot of reasons. I mean, it seems like Tesla and Uber are partnering up on this. It also seems like we might have. I kind of see in the future a showdown. This could be I think Waymo versus Tesla slash Uber. And then finally, too, I think that's really interesting and ironic, as we know. Uber's always screaming they can't share the data, they can't share the data, and they are happy to share the data with Tesla on anything that they want. It's wild.
It it is interesting, and I think you hit the nail on the head here that there seems to be a budding relationship between these two companies. We've seen Tesla and Uber already start to work together in terms of renting vehicles to drivers. We've seen way more drivers in Tesla vehicles. I personally have been picked up numerous times in a Tesla when I order Ubers, and now we're starting to see the sharing of the data, the sharing of the navigation. And I think it was last week that we talked about the sharing of technology in terms of, is Uber going to be, implementing Tesla's autonomous vehicle technology as it takes steps towards putting autonomous vehicles on the road itself. So that, this is just one more example of these companies getting cozy. And as you alluded to, I think it really is, something to watch for over the next couple of years. Are we seeing an Uber Tesla relationship that might even be some sort of like merger relationship? Like, does the technology from the rideshare app and the technology from this, budding autonomous vehicle company come together? And do we see, Uber Tesla as one? And is that the rideshare of the future?
Yeah, that's the thing that really was interesting to me is that we know that Tesla, they share, you can rent Teslas, and we've seen that before. I just think, lack of a better word, I guess, intimacy of the data and the partnership is shocking to me. I guess, maybe others, maybe drivers like, well, we're not shocked by this, but I feel like I personally am, that they're, like you said, that maybe they're saying, look, we need to team up. We know that Tesla talked about, hey, we want our drivers to be able to rent their car out as a robo-taxi, but Uber has the data and the system in place. And Uber, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of weeks ago, we did a story where Uber CEO, who does this all the time, it's his clever trick. He'll say something in the press, but it's not for the press or for the media. It's for the specific person. He said he did this with Proposition 22, hinting about, I believe laws should change before they really pushed for that and created it. And he also did the same thing recently with the response from Elon about the robo-taxis happening with Tesla. He sort of made this comment that was like, it's a lot harder than you think, and we have a lot of this ready to go. It was
Yep.
worded in a way that it wasn't for the reader, it was for Elon.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think this will be really interesting to see how this goes. I can seriously see in a couple of years a showdown between Waymo and Uber slash Tesla. It just seems in the works.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So we'll see where this thing goes. It's funny, these companies are, they're not that different from each other. They're kind of rogue companies who do what they want when they want. And I'm actually the Elon Musk and Uber's previous CEO, Travis Kalanick,
Yeah,
seemed to be, from the same cloth, but Travis is long gone. So we'll see how the companies fit together, how the personalities fit together. But there does seem to be some overlap. There seems to be some relationship building, and it is something to watch. We'll just leave it at that.
absolutely. And before we do end this week, I actually forgot to do viewer comments, and we do have two great viewer comments. And this is from last week. Mika Tina Robinson said, "Happy early birthdays," because last week we were talking about our birthdays were in November. So thank you for that. A little early, but I'll take it. Happy about that. And then also, Philip commented, we were saying about last week, is it too little too late that Lyft, I believe the conversation was about verifying rides and being safer. And Philip says too little too late. Certainly don't disagree with that. But thank you both. I appreciate the happy birthdays, and I appreciate the responses to that.
Yep, we always appreciate viewers. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So of course, Bryant, before we head into the weekend, I will give you the final say.
Just always reminding everybody as we head into the weekend here that if you find yourself in an accident, if you're injured on the job, please reach out to us. Consultations are always free. We're happy to talk you through the ins and outs of the insurance claim, what to do if you're injured and need medical attention, or just if you have any questions about the process itself. So LegalRideshare.com is the best way to find all of our contact information. As I always say, cases do not get better over time. Time is of the essence. Please reach out to us right away, and we're happy to assist.
Thank you, Bryant. And as I like to say, that is the end of this week in Rideshare. See you next time.